Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in on what is a fabulous Friday. It truly is. You realize today is sort of the beginning of summer. It's the unofficial beginning of summer. As I recall, June 21st or June 22nd, that's the official day of summer. But everybody always says Memorial Day weekend, that is the beginning. That's when pools usually open up. This is the last day for Memphis City schools. It's over for the kids for the summer. So will you join me, J-Mo, in welcoming summer to our midst?
I have kind of been in a summer mindset for weeks now. I mean, it's just the way it is. But I will officially call it summer now. This is the time to do it.
This is the gateway weekend.
That's right.
You could say, will there be history made in the NBA? A team down 3-0 has never come back and won a series. I thought I saw the numbers. It was interesting.
150 times now.
It's 150?
0 and 150.
0 and 150. What's interesting is, and Ernie Johnson did this pregame interview with Grant Williams yesterday while he was shooting around getting ready for game number 5. And he knew the numbers. It's like 33 teams have forced a game 6 out of those 150. And then 7 got to a game 7 and didn't win. So, we've got a precedent of 150. Nobody's ever won. J-Mo, will there be a game 7? Will there be a Boston history made?
I think I have a hard time seeing not, because the Celtics, since they've made that change of having Brogdon sit more and playing Grant Williams more minutes, they've just dominated the Heat, and the Heat are making panic moves like doubling guys on the perimeter and stuff like that, and I just don't see – and Grant Williams also defended at an elite level, and a level that maybe because of Brogdon's elbow he wasn't able to do, I'm not sure, but just the combination, the Celtics have owned this matchup the last 2 games, and I don't see any losing in sight.
I'm kind of with you. I don't think it'll happen. I think Miami will win in game 6 at home. If they don't, I don't see how they win game 7 in Boston. So I would say this is game 7 for Miami. They got to win this game.
If there's a team you want to play game 7 on the road, it's Boston, who I believe after last night is now only 1 game over 500 at home this playoffs.
Well, maybe, but the way they were yesterday, right from the get-go, that was a loud, ferocious place. Here's the thing. Boston turned this around, and maybe Grant Williams was the key, but Boston turned it around with defense. That and all the turnovers they forced in the game before that, all the blocks they had to go with the turnovers, and then they've had this proficiency from three-point range. At one point, I think early in the third quarter, they had 8 more threes made than Miami. That's 24 points. You can't make that up, especially when you're turning the ball over all the time.
That's why I think it was such a mistake to start doubling Tatum on the perimeter. You were guarding the 3 well, even when it's Brown or Tatum getting downhill and driving and kicking. You were guarding guys fine one-on-one in that regard. They weren't shooting well. You all of a sudden start double teaming on the perimeter, and they go lights out from 3.
Well, when you're leaving Marcus Smart wide open, I mean, I know he's not a great shooter, but he's a pro. He's an experienced pro. You leave him wide open, and he'll burn you with 3 threes in a row.
That's right.
I mean, that's where they really began building this thing, and White couldn't miss. If you're going to double a guy, I would have doubled White. He was amazing. But because of the attention on Tatum and Brown, that leaves those guys wide open. Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. He's going to have to figure something out about stopping that perimeter attack, and he has got to figure out a way to get his guys to quit turning the ball over. Now, maybe the loss of Gabe Vincent, who should be back for Game 6, will come a long way. And Kyle Lowry is old. I mean, he's shown it. And by the way, so is Kevin Love. And here's the biggest weakness for me. When you if you don't have Caleb Martin, who's fine, I think he's a terrific player. But when you bring in Zeller and you're starting Love, you're already a weakness in a post position, in my mind, because I don't think Kevin Love is a great player. He's not anymore. He can't defend at all. And if he's not shooting well, and he usually shoots well at the beginning of games because I think his legs – go away. That's what happens when you get old. And Zeller, to me, every time he comes in the game, I go, well, here's a run. Boston's going to make a run because he's just not athletic enough, and he's slow.
Well, and to your point, they ended up going to Haywood Highsmith for the majority of that game as the bench player, playing the 4 and the 5. To your point about Kevin Love and about Cody Zeller, is Haywood Highsmith played over 30 minutes last night and did so at a high level. He played really well last night.
Well, they're going to have to find something in home otherwise, because if this goes 2-7, then I think Boston will make history. I don't think that'll happen, though. I think Miami will win. They'll figure out a way. And Jimmy Butler was terrible the last couple of games.
He was.
He's got to return to the form that was making him a superstar, honestly. So we shall see about that. Ja's shoes have, well, at least it's hit the market on one app. So the way this thing works is apparently there's this sneakers.
With no vowels.
Right, with no vowels. Thank you. It's a great way to put it. Sneakers app that, by the way, is in association with Nike.
Mm-hmm.
So they got a release of somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 of those Ja Hunger shoes that are called the colorway because one's red, one's blue, and they mix it up that way. And there is a huge, huge demand for these shoes. So everybody wonders what's going on. What will they do with Ja? Because I found this out today from my inside shoe guy.
Got a shoe guy.
Yeah. They've actually engineered Ja 2s. They've got an engineered ready to go into production for next summer. So you got the Ja 1s, the Ja Hunger. Ja 1s released. They sold really well. Ja 2s, great, or Ja Hunger colorways. Got a great demand for those. But they're in the limited thing now, which I guess drives up the price. I'm not sure. Well, it's like a commodity. I have no idea how it actually works totally.
Like trading cards almost.
It's incredible how much money is in the secondary market.
That's right.
But what will Nike do? I think Nike is actually waiting to figure out what the NBA is going to do with Ja, because they got a problem here. The Ja shoes are selling like crazy. There's a great demand for them. But I'm not sure they really want him to be a spokesman. So even though they released these shoes on this app, he is not to be seen on their website. He was deleted, scrubbed, whatever term you want to use. He was taken off the Nike app last week. He's not on there. Yet they've already put this great investment into a product that is selling like crazy. So what are they going to do? And I'm guessing whatever, and we probably won't find out till after the finals, because I can't imagine Adam Silver is going to disrupt the positivity of the games themselves. So I guess you're going to have to wait until after the finals to find out. And whatever Adam Silver decrees here could end up being the way Nike goes. It's really tough. I commend Shelby County Sheriff's Department for going and doing a wellness check on Ja the other day, and apparently Ja confirmed what, we went through different scenarios that it could have been. And I really kind of thought this was what it was, but you didn't know because the way he presented it was so cryptic. But he just was saying goodbye to social media. Now,
very dramatic goodbye to social media.
What do you think the over-under is on that? Because drama is the perfect word to use. He appears to be a guy who likes drama, and he appears to be a guy who loves attention. Now, there's a lot of young kids his age that they crave attention, although he doesn't. He's got it, but he likes being in the limelight, I think. And I think the over/under on him staying off of social media is like 6 months.
I'm going under.
You're going under?
I'm going under on that one. Although 2 incidents like this could make it where it's really not his choice what he does here. But like you said, if you're going to go off social media, that was one way to do it where you got everybody's attention pretty quickly. So it wasn't just like going in silence. If you're going to make me go off of social media, I'm going to make sure everybody knows what's going on here. And that's what he did yesterday, or 2 days ago, I suppose.
I'm announcing that I'm not going to be on social media anymore. But I'm using this social media to announce that I'm not on social media anymore.
That's right.
Right. Good luck on that. Penny is inviting you to his house on June the 10th if you put up a minimum of $1,000. And this is all about NIL money. And I've been watching this now. I was involved on Wednesday in a luncheon. It was with sponsors, and this was inside the football entity of Memphis. And of course, it was also, there was a plea for NIL money, and this is what Penny is doing. Look, I don't think it's a secret. The backup point guard that would have been the starting point guard for Memphis this year from Alabama, Bradley. What's his name? Avery Bradley? Is that what it was?
No, that's an NBA
Bradley.
player. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Aaron Bradley? I think it was an A, but I could be wrong.
Jaden Bradley.
Jaden Bradley. Very far from an A.
Yeah, but it has that long A at the beginning, though.
There you go. It's an A in it. There's no doubt he got more money. Memphis couldn't come up with the money that Arizona ended up giving him. There was a kid that ended up going to New Mexico that Memphis was in on. Where the kid, and I don't know if he's a great player, but he basically said, well, I got more money at New Mexico. And it's truly an interesting dynamic that athletic directors, including Laird Veach, have to encounter and figure out. Because in the past, there's always been a separate entity at a university that is for fundraising. And you have an athletic director that is in charge of fundraising. And that can be for anything. That could be for facilities. It could be for upgrading any part of any athletic department. Locker rooms.
Travel, I would imagine, is a part of that.
Charters. No doubt. Everything that is about, other than paying players, everything that is about the athletic department and providing some equal opportunity for non-revenue sports, that falls in the hands of the traditional fundraiser. Well, those fundraisers have been trained and have put all their attention to that, and not because in the past you couldn't even contact a player, right? You didn't want any boosters near any players for fear of any impropriety. Well, now the coaches have taken it upon themselves to be the fundraisers for that. You've basically, within your own athletic department, had your fundraiser versus a coach for money. And now simply, I think athletic departments are going, wait a second, we got to change our model. Because if we want fans to really be interested in the product, we got to have players. And now that money that was earmarked for other things has to go to the players. So now you're going back to those fundraisers to say, you got to help the coach. And it's taken a while for people in athletic departments to figure this out. Plus which, and Jamie, I'll let you have your say in a second, plus which, there is an entity out there that felt pride, maybe obligation in some parts of their alma mater to help them out in the old way. I have yet to hear any booster, seriously, any booster other than a parent of a player who goes, this new system, this NIL, it's a good thing for college sports. There's not one. Everybody goes, this is terrible. I've had one booster years when it first began who said, why in the world am I going to give money to a student athlete who ends up making more money than me? So there is an anti-NIL sentiment that's out there. It's not changing. We know that. The money is out there. That The biggest proponents are the student athletes, their parents, and I think those of us who have watched the inequity over all these years, where you're having to build a separate locker room because you got free labor and you got to spend the money, right? So now the labor's getting the money, and it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. So the person that might be very willing to give to a particular university is not that willing to give to the student athlete. So now you're having to re-educate because the power schools are figuring out where the money is coming from and how to channel it. And smaller schools are struggling. And Memphis is one of them. I know for a fact the football coach and the basketball coach are both involved in fundraising so they can have a budget to use for NIL money. And it's tough. It's really tough. And even Memphis basketball, which has been the prize cow, which has gone to 2 straight NCAAs, is reaching out now where the coach himself is hosting a party on June the 10th in order to raise money so that he can compete after he's lost at least 2 that we know of because they couldn't raise the NIL money. And this is Penny Hardaway doing this.
It sounds like capping, like not a salary cap as a team, but a cap for individual, what that person can make could help ease the boosters a little bit. But 2 things came to my mind when you were saying that is really the only booster that I've seen like all about it is that John Ruiz character at Miami that's paying all those people. But he got the school in trouble with the NCAA for improprieties, which we thought that NIL removed all of the improper benefits and things of that nature. So he's already gotten in trouble. And it also reminded me at Rutgers last offseason, before the season started, Greg Schiano comes out and says, look, if you want us to even compete in this league, we need millions of dollars in order to just keep our roster the same. Forget going to recruit players that we need to add for next year. We need X amount of millions of dollars just to keep this roster intact. Well, so all of these things are brand new.
You know, just look at this. Right, and I'll get to the ultimate thing that'll occur here. And I've said this before. It's not going to be a surprise to anybody. But take SMU. There's that group. I don't know how many boosters it is. I want to say it's like 100. I may be making that up. That they came to the conclusion that they were putting money in a deal that the interest would end up paying. Anybody who plays football at SMU starts off at $46,000. That's their base pay, even the walk-ons. And then those that are really, really good, like your quarterback, they're going to end up making a lot more money on top of the 46. But anybody who's there is going to make 46. Now you watch, anybody who becomes a really good player in the American Athletic Conference, they're going to be lost to a Power 5 that can pay them more. That's just the way it's going to be.
Unless you can get a booster into a school that is willing to compete at that level, which might be your only chance at the end of the day.
Right. If you're the University of Memphis, who's that booster?
Fred Smith.
I
Not to name names. I don't mean to name names. It's the first name that came into my mind with that.
Fred Smith could afford it, but you know what? From what I'm told, I've never talked to Fred, but I think Fred is one of those guys that has given so much to the university, but is not crazy about NIL.
Well, and you make a good point with that, too, is if I've already given X amount of millions of dollars to the university, why am I going to double dip? So now these 2 entities are essentially competing against one another for your money.
That's exactly correct. But here's the deal. That emphasis on what used to be to the school has got to change to the player. That's just the way it's going to have to be if you're going to have roster retention of any kind. And, it's not supposed to be as enticement to a recruit, but it ends up where, you got to perform once you're here. But look, the 2 biggest recruits that got money, came from corporate sponsors. Duran and Bates were paid by Nike on the front end because that was their investment in branding, and they do this all the time to star players. And you're going to see more and more, probably less and less of that shoe money will go to schools. More and more will end up going to a select few players that they can give to. But they're also scared about that because Duran was a good payoff. Bates was not. And both those guys got about $1 million out of Nike. So I think Nike's learned its lesson, too, to a certain extent. But those were prepaid by a separate entity it was legal to do with NIL. But now, when you don't have a player like that is a national entity, and maybe Mikey Williams will be, but right now, He's got a big question mark over him legally. So where's that NIL money coming for the players under that rung? And now the coach has to organize a dinner at his house. It's crazy. In the end, all that's going to go away because the players are going to want more and more. And they're going to say, wait a second. The SEC just got $60 million in TV money. Oh, yeah. So we got $100,000 because we signed some T-shirts. We want more than that. And it'll end up being where they will end up with a percentage of TV money in some of the gate, and they'll end up being employees of the university. I think that's the way this whole thing is going to have to go eventually, especially now you got agents who it's legal to have to advise these guys, and they're going to want more and more, and that's the way it's going to be pro ball. In the end, it will be pro ball. We're sitting in the Family Leisure studio. This is probably the end. I haven't heard from Lindsay or Billy yet, but the vacation at home sale usually kind of comes to a close at the end of the Memorial Day holiday weekend. So I'd get there right now to get the lowest prices on pools or spas or in-stock patio furniture or those great play gyms, which are on sale for under $2,000. There's special financing available during the vacation at home sale. And if you mention Wolo, JMO, Sports 56, you can mention Greg and Eli for all that matter, or Stats Norsworthy, and you'll get half off on installation. It's a heck of a deal at Family Leisure. You know our title sponsor, that's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where if you would like a G70, that beautiful sports car, that luxury of a Genesis car, you can get a $1,000 rebate if you agree to finance with Genesis. Why wouldn't you? It's a good rate. And they're paying you $1,000. They're always on the edge of making the best product even more enticing at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis, right there at Highway 70 at Lamar and the first exit in Mississippi, Craft Road. We take a break. When we come back to Chicago, we go. We'll talk NBA, these playoffs, with our agent. That's Andy Schiffman, and he's right around the corner.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Memorial Day is coming up soon. Let Memphis Barbecue Supply help you with all your barbecue needs. Memphis Barbecue Supply is fully stocked with 7 different briquette, 4 different lump charcoal. Over 6,000 pounds of charcoal in stock. Need wood? Well, Memphis Barbecue Supply carries in stock chip, chunk, mini logs, and quarter logs of wood. From apple to pecan to oak, we have 8 different types of wood in stock for any kind of smoker. Need that final touch of flavor? Memphis Barbecue Supply stocks over 308 different rubs and sauces to make your holiday weekend special. Need help choosing that special rub or sauce? Just ask any of our knowledgeable staff that have years of experience cooking. Memphis Barbecue Supply is located at 7041 Stage Road in Memphis, or you can order online at mbbqsupply.com. Follow us on all social media platforms for recipes, new products, and barbecue news.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-585-8282. 800-585-8282. That's 800-585-8282.
You ready to get your ride on at Gossett Mitsubishi? Inventory is arriving daily and we're ready to put you in a new ride today. Get 7 seats and 27 MPG combined in your new 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander. We Gossett at $33,285 or $469 a month. And the winner takes all in 2023 Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. 420-mile total range, 64 combined MPGe, and 38 minutes best charging time. We Gossett at $449 a month. And you'll always get peace of mind with Mitsubishi's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Outlander $469, Outlander PHEV $449. That's Gossett Mitsubishi, 1870 Covington Pike, or shop online at memphismitsubishi.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
Outlander PCO 45645, MSRP 33785, PHEV PZ 043032, MSRP 48230, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 695, excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through end of the month, dealer stock only.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Cruising into summer. That's what this day is all about. It's brought to you by Conway Services. Heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. You know, low humidity today. It's gorgeous out there. But there is a front coming with a lot of humidity. Hope your air conditioning system is up to it. I can tell you how it can be. It's $69 of preventative medicine. It's called the Conway Super Tune-Up. 16 points inside where they get your system humming perfectly. Then they go outside and clean it up, and your system becomes efficient, saves you money on your energy bill, and your system will last longer. All you got to do is call 384-3511. That's Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. And don't forget, it's a long weekend. You want to stock up, go see my friend Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop. That's right at the corner of Poplar and St. Nick. You've seen the little log cabin you passed by a million times right down from Clark Tower. It looks small, but there's a lot of product in there. And when you walk in, not only will you get great service, great prices, you'll get an education if you want. Talk to Eddie Connor, anybody in there. They will tell you all about the latest and greatest when it comes to any spirit. You want valuable bourbon. You want the latest tequila. You want maybe a vodka that's special that might have some flavor to it. Ask Eddie. You want an up-and-coming wine? Ask Eddie. They know it all. That's the Spirit Shop at Poplar and St. Nick. To Chicago we go, and I'll ask Andy Schiffman what I asked theoretically just a little while ago during the Open. Will we see history made with Boston and Miami? There's never been a team, and there have been 150 of them down 7-0 or 3-0 that has come back and won in 7 games. Will we see it this time, Andy?
Look, I think we could. Obviously, as a basketball fan, I would love to see Boston steal one in Miami and take Game 7 back to Boston. I think that would be Monday. I don't think it'll happen. I think Miami, they're going to get it done tomorrow night in advance to play Denver. But, again, I would love to see it happen.
I am of the same thinking as you. I think the Heat will get it together. Gabe Vincent coming back will help.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler's got to play better than he's played the last 2 games.
They can't let Derek White go off and have a huge game, and they need to hit shots. And they need to out-rebound, and they need to hit shots. I mean, when Miami has been great this year and great in these playoffs, everyone's knocking down threes, and they're defending really well. I think Gabe's return will absolutely help them tomorrow night.
Since we spoke last week, we've had another Ja episode. This was cryptic Instagram posts. And he actually had a wellness check by the Shelby County Sheriff's Department to make sure he was okay, because some could have perceived those to be cries for help or a guy that was suicidal. It turned out, as he told the sheriff's office, he was just saying goodbye to social media. I don't know how long he'll stay off social media. You were very emphatic about how long this suspension from Adam Silver could be. Do you think Ja is crying out for help, or is this just more in your mind, the way he operates? He likes attention.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know Ja personally, my opinion is that he is a millennial that wants and likes and thrives off of attention and drama. There's people in this world that are addicted to social media, and they have this inherent impulse to post and publicize every thought they're having and everything they're doing. And obviously, in Ja's case, this has gotten him into some trouble twice now. And then this most recent post where he's, the thing you're referring to, where he says being interviewed by someone from the NBA or NBA TV, and he put a quote bubble up that just said "bye" in response. I think, look, again, I don't know Ja personally. My take is that he knows this is going to stir the pot. It's going to get people talking. He wants people talking. He loves the drama. I think I don't know. That's my take. It's just he's crying out for attention, and he likes to be the center of it as opposed to someone in need of help. But again, I don't know firsthand.
When do you think Adam Silver will come out with a decision? Because
Right.
the moves the Grizzlies might make
Yeah,
are going to
absolutely.
be dependent upon this, but he's not going to interrupt the playoffs for this, is he?
I don't think he'll interrupt the playoffs, Dave. But look, I mean, if you're Zach Kleiman, you're doing everything you can to show the league that you are on top of it internally, and you will hand down some sort of consequences within your own organization to Ja. And I think, and you would hope that would soften the blow from the league, in that there's somewhat organizational control, and maybe Adam Silver looks at that favorably when he decides how many games Ja will be out for. But yeah, if you're a Grizzlies fan, if you're someone involved with the Grizzlies, if you're Taylor Jenkins, if you're Zach Kleiman, you absolutely would like some clarity on this before the draft. Now, are the Grizzlies, where they're picking in the first round, going to go out there and land someone to come in and be a job replacement for however long he's out? Realistically, probably not. Not in late in the first round. But again, there's always mechanisms to make trades and move up, and there's a lot of high-level point guards in this draft. And there's been talk to the Grizzlies trade Tyus Jones. I think that is something that is very much on the table this summer. Obviously, you've got free agency. The Grizzlies are going to have some mechanisms to play with, and mid-level exception, about $12 million or so to spend. So you for sure would like some sort of clarity before you get to, ideally, the draft on June 22nd. But worst case, before we start free agency here on July 1st coming up, as to how long they expect to be without Ja.
You said something interesting here. I've not heard this really brought up, but you think internally the Grizzlies could put some parameters on him that might soften the blow with the decree that Adam Silver will put down?
And I don't know what those parameters are, Dave, but I think if you're Zach, you are trying to show, obviously you mean it, but I think it's beneficial to show Adam in the league, we're not letting this slide either. We take this just as seriously. I think in the past, in sports, when you have seen an organization take internal control and reprimand an athlete internally, that, again, is it really going to move the needle a whole lot to say, oh, well, the Grizzlies have sat there and suspended them and kept him away from team activities for X number of weeks or months? I'll take that into consideration. Is it going to sit there and lessen his suspension from, let's say, what would have been maybe half the season to a quarter of the season? I don't know. Probably not. But I do think it can help. And I do think that is something that Zach and his staff have probably discussed. I mean, look, they did that last time, right? Earlier in this year, late in the season last year, when they worked with Ja, and obviously he went to this rehab facility, wherever it was. He was away from the team. As I understand it, that was all promulgated by Zach, by the team. But clearly, it didn't really do a whole lot, did it?
Well, I mean, if you really got an issue, you're not solving that in 3 days or however long.
Exactly.
He was there. I would guess if I'm going to counter that thought process of yours,
Mm-hmm.
I would be going, well, wait a second here. Am I going to make a big deal about a player that I want on my roster for the next 7 years or 10 years, however long, he's going to be a great player? Am I going to take a chance on really POing him by putting new parameters on that the league could probably do, but I'm going to do it internally. I would
think you have to explain
there's
that
a
to Jaw.
danger of really making him angry.
Well, I think, Dave, if you explain it to Jaw and explain why you're doing this and say the goal in this, obviously, is everyone to get on the same page, but the goal is to get you back on the court sooner. And Jaw, from my understanding with the league and from talking to people, it could be beneficial if we approach this head on and take swift action before the league does. And the hope and the goal would be, again, to lessen the severity of whatever punishment Adam Silver is going to hand down. And I think if you articulate that to Jaw and his agent, they completely understand that and will accept it. Look, Jaw is obviously sitting there. He knows something's going to happen. He knows he's going to be suspended longer than he was towards the end of this past season here. That's I believe, understood across the board. And so I think if you're the Grizzlies and you can work with Jaw and explain why you're doing this and why you're taking this action, I would imagine he would say, look, I messed up. I don't want to lose money. I don't want to sit out more than I have to. Whatever you feel is necessary to lessen my suspension, I'm on board. That's what I would assume someone in his position would be saying.
All right, let's talk for just a second, because next week we'll know who the NBA finalists are all going to be. We know Denver's in. But I want to talk about the draft for a second. Wembanyama is this new generational guy that I think you are of the opinion is really going to be good. And I'm looking at this. There's a bunch of guys in the mock drafts that I see in the top 10 that are either foreign, like Wembanyama, or they're from the G League elite, or they went somewhere else for that first year overseas. Is college basketball no longer the route for an elite player to take if they want to be a top draft choice?
I think it is one of the paths to take. I think, obviously, look, before you saw G League Ignite, before you saw Overtime Elite, it was really college. That was the only avenue. And no American-born player has really ever looked at going to play overseas for a year and then coming back to the NBA. I think, obviously, Victor, he didn't go to a U.S. college. He's not going to U.S. college or high school or anything like that. He's growing up in France. He's playing over there. Those stories are anomalies where you get these top elite, young, international players that come over and become a top draft pick and a superstar. Obviously, you see that in Luka Doncic. Now you're going to see that in Victor Wembanyama. But again, to your point, now you have the Overtime Elite. You've got the G League Ignite. I think for a select few, for the top heralded Scoot Hendersons of the world, the Thompson twins with the Overtime Elite, you do see that. And those players typically are top 5, top 10, 5-star recruits coming out of high school. I think for other players who are still maybe 5-star or even 4-star for sure, but even 5-star kids that may not be thought of as just lock lottery talent, college is the way to go.
Well, it's interesting to me. The top 3 players in the NBA today, you can make an argument about this, but they just very well could be Jokic, Giannis, and Luka. All 3 are foreign guys, right?
Yep.
And I've heard some coaches say, they don't say it out loud, but they'd rather have a foreign guy because foreign guys love the game more and work harder. And I don't know if this is a product.
I think they step in right away, and they're ready because they're playing against grown men as a young professional in their late teens overseas.
All right, if you had a kid or you were an uncle to a prodigy kid,
which I am, Sydney is a prodigy, 6-year-old Sydney. But anyway.
Sydney, knowing your genes, get a golf club in his hand immediately because basketball's not going to happen. If you did, seriously, and he was a 5-star kid in high school, what would you tell him to do? Would you say, go play for Penny or go play for Calipari or go play for Bill Self? Or would you say, go to G League Elite, go to whatever the other elite thing is, go to the Breakers? Where would you send that prodigy? And you're in the business.
Yep. College, every day. And here's why. stepping foot on a college campus when you are a 5-star player coming out of high school, the opportunity to go out there and play twice a week on national TV, the opportunity to go out there and lead your team to the NCAA tournament, to the Final Four, to a national championship, you can never duplicate those experiences and memories. You cannot get that same experience if you're playing G League games when you have 1,000 people in the stands and 800 of those are kids running around in school. It's nothing. Traveling on commercial flights at 6 a.m. with layovers every which way, you cannot get that same experience with the overtime elite. I think there is something to be said for going overseas and experiencing that part of the world and being exposed to a whole new culture. But again, that's a rude awakening for someone that's going to be, let's call them 18 years old, stepping foot and with such high expectations, playing internationally where everyone around you has families already and you may not speak English and your coach is absolutely insane and you're practicing twice a day and being physically run into the ground. It could be miserable. It could be great, but you're playing against grown men who are out to get you because you've got a target on your back. It's a no-brainer for me, and I would advise this to any parent. Send your kid to college because obviously the opportunity to get a free education is second to none in life. But just the life experience of being on a college campus, being the man, and playing in front of that crowd and that atmosphere, it's something that players, you don't know what your career will hold. What happens if you become a top draft pick and your career is cut short? I mean, you saw that years ago with Brandon Roy, who was an elite level NBA player, but his career was cut short due to injuries. And to look back and know that you began your college education in something that you can always go back and get, but now you've got less work to do and fewer credits because you've already done it for a year if you're one and done. And just like I said, the experience, having that tie to a big time university, going back and just having that affiliation. I mean, do you think about, obviously LeBron, it was a foregone conclusion that he was going straight to the NBA, but if he would have gone to college, I believe it would have been Ohio State. And think about his connection to that university now for the rest of his life and naming the facilities after him and the court after him.
Right.
Anytime he would go back on campus and what that would do to the entire university. And that's a huge university, obviously, huge student body. I just think that's irreplaceable.
Well, and think of it that another example, same school that I think is critical is Greg Oden, who was going to be the next Shaq, right? And unfortunately because of injury, he was never a great pro player. But I'll tell you, they still speak in reverent terms when they talk about Greg Oden in the state of Ohio. Andy, as always, it's terrific. I'm in total agreement because I love college basketball. But I do see a shifting of the way these things are going. Thank you, and we'll talk NBA Finals when we talk next Friday.
Let's do it. Have a good weekend. Thanks, Dave.
You too. Happy Memorial Day to you.
Happy summer.
Happy summer. Exactly. Perfectly said. And the introduction of summer is brought to you in part by Athlon. Hey, Matt. He would agree with that. I know he agrees with loving the Tigers. In fact, so much that this insurance firm has in their number 386-GER. That's 4777 because he's a big Tiger supporter. But I'll tell you what he's really best known for is teamwork. Getting to know you, collaborating when they protect you with insurance, whether that is for your home, your auto, or life insurance. They get to know you and your family, what your budget is, and then they'll protect you the right way. And if you've got a small to mid-sized business, the same way with commercial insurance collaboration, he'll know your product. He'll know your personnel. He'll figure out your budget. He'll protect your company the right way. And again, that number, 901-386-GER. We're back in a minute. In the house, the one and only Bryant Dacus, who is, fashioning a Showboats cap. I bet he'll be at the game on Sunday. We'll talk with him about the Tigers. We'll talk a little Showboats maybe with him when we return.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
There are so many ways to buy and sell houses these days. How do you choose? Well, of course, choose the right way with Chet Whitsitt. Chet has over 37 years of experience as both a broker and a sales agent. He's helped lots of people buy and sell homes, and he will help you. It's the right way, and it's that easy. Buying, selling, or referrals, check with Chet at 901-484-5689 and Cry Like Realtors at 901-756-8900. Buying or selling? Check with Chet Whitsitt.
Acura of Memphis invites you to experience the all-new, completely redesigned 2022 Acura MDX. It's the most advanced SUV Acura has ever built. Experience the convenience of full connectivity, including built-in Alexa, Wi-Fi hotspot, and wireless charging, from the stunning interior complete with third-row seating. Stop by our state-of-the-art facility and take advantage of our aggressive APR offers today at Ridgeway and 385. Or shop online from the convenience of home now. Visit AcuraofMemphis.com.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Always look forward to this little segment with Brian Dacus, and that's because, well, we know it's the last segment before the weekend comes. That's terrific, but we always get enlightened on a bunch of other stuff, and I will tell you that he is brought to you by Shell Dunn Rosengarten. Shell Dunn, MemphisRelocate.com. There's a reason he's got that in his website. It's because relocation is a big part of his business. He's perfect for that. And the number is 483-0546, 901-483-0546. Shell Dunn gets the job done. He likes to tell everybody he's a terrible golfer. I don't know if he's as bad as he says he is, but I do know he never practices because he's always working that strategic marketing strategy that sells houses. It clearly does. It involves preparation. It involves knowing things. It involves him doing a lot of work. He's the way to get to the closing table, the fastest way, and to get the most money that you will get out of your house. So he can't practice because he's working for you, and all you got to do is call 901-483-0546. You want your house sold? You want the job done? Call Shell Dunn. That is the number at Marks Bensdorf. So you got anything new for me today? I see there's Julian Phillips. He's in the transfer portal. He's the former Tennessee player. Memphis is one of his, there's 8 or 10
there's a ton.
That are in there. Have you got any portal news for me today?
Well, there's not a lot right now. I think there will be more next week when the deadline passes for withdrawal from the NBA draft. I think there's a lot of guys that are still trying to make that decision. Julian Phillips, though, a guy from Tennessee, first team All-SEC freshman team. So, I mean, a guy that has shown that he can play at a very high level. I think averaged about 8 points last year, about 6 rebounds, 6'8", kind of a forward guy that I think if you bring him in, he'd definitely help. I mean, I believe he was a former 5-star. Before going to Tennessee. So I think a guy that could really come in and give you something inside because you really don't have much right now in the front court. I think the other news is kind of Malcolm Dandridge after it seemed like he was leaving for good, put Memphis in a top 6 list that came out. It hadn't really circulated around a lot of places. I hadn't seen that. I don't know if I trust it really.
Very niche.
Really. It's from CBB Content is who posted, and they got it from some other unknown Twitter page.
Who is CBB Content?
Great question. Who knows? It's
this
just
is the first we're hearing of them.
Yeah, it's some Twitter page that does college basketball stuff. You can always know, should I trust them or not? Questionable if they bought their check mark, which this site has. So
Wait a second. A check mark cost $8, right?
Right.
I have a check mark.
Right. But you have it for different reasons. There's a lot of
That's where
these.
I post my video for the coach
Right.
speak, and the only way I can post it is to buy the Twitter.
Oh, wow.
But these are sites usually ran by like young people, and they think that they can have some sort of influence if they have the check mark there.
Who are the other 5 besides Memphis
So
and Malcolm's deal?
it's Memphis, UCF, Kansas State, BYU, and Western Kentucky. So 4 Big 12 schools, Western Kentucky, which a lot of people thought was interesting because obviously Rick Stansbury now on the roster at Memphis. But then lastly, a return to Memphis was there, which kind of, again, do you trust it or not? It kind of caught me off guard because I think the way that Malcolm left, we all thought he wasn't coming back. And then this tweet, usually when you see a tweet that says they're thinking about returning, that would lead you to believe, well, they just went out there and was kind of seeing what's out there and they might come back. And just the timing of it, usually guys that do that enter the transfer portal very early, right after the season closes, and this one was a very late addition to the transfer portal. So very interesting. I think it's almost Greg Gaston was on with us in the afternoon, me and Brett, and said that it almost to him smelled like desperation from Coach Hardaway of we're really kind of getting thin and trying to find a big man. Maybe we just bring Malcolm back. I have this relationship with him. I know what he can do if he's healthy, and maybe we bring him back and go one last time.
Tell him about the kid you like that just entered the transfer portal from the draft. Sorry to hijack.
No,
everything.
you're good.
No. That's great because that was my next question is who do you think is going to say, I didn't make it in the NBA, I'm coming back, that would be a good fit for the Tigers?
Well, this guy, Tyler Burton from Richmond, I love. I saw him. I didn't watch much of him last year.
6'7", big boy.
6'7", a forward, averaged about 17 points, 8 rebounds last year for Richmond, which if you've watched Richmond the past couple of years, a mid-major school, but a team that is usually very competitive, runs a really good system up there. And so I think a guy that could play really anywhere and be a difference maker. The only thing about him is he's in the transfer portal right now, but he has do not contact by his name, which usually means he's going to go a pro route, which I don't know. He's a fifth-year senior or grad transfer, so I don't know what that would look like, maybe going overseas for a year and trying to kind of sharpen some things up.
You go to the right place, you can make more money in the NIL as a college player than you can in most of these lower-level pro opportunities.
Yeah, which that's what kind of took me because this is an older guy, an experienced guy. I thought he would easily be able to go somewhere and make some good money in his last year and then try that going for the drafting. Because I do think watching his kind of clips before he was invited to the G League Combine, the one that Kendrick Davis participated in before going to the actual Combine. And from watching him, I thought maybe if he gets more consistent with his three-pointers, he could be a really solid NBA player. And I think even without that consistency from three, could really help out a lot of teams.
Anybody else?
No, not really. I mean, there's a lot of names in the portal, none that really have jumped out to the Tigers that it seems like they're interested in right now. Like I said, I think that will change in this next week. I think we're kind of in not a dead period per se, but just kind of one of those, a lot of people are waiting to see what comes out from this withdrawal period.
All right, since you're wearing the Showboats cap, I'm going to go to the game on Sunday. The Gamblers are in a position, they could lose this game, still make the playoffs. Showboats have to win it. The Gamblers have a really good running back. They have won 4 in a row. The Showboats have won 3 in a row. J-Mo, I know this that you can find online who the favorite is. I'm going to say that the Gamblers are favorites in this game by, I'm going to say 4 points. I'm making it up. I'm just guessing. The Showboats defense has been unbelievable, forcing, 10 turnovers in the last 3 games.
Sounds about right.
Special teams has been terrific.
Gamblers favored by 3.
Ooh,
3.
Field goal.
A little too high. Tell me what you think happens in that game.
You know what? I'll take the Showboats. I think this team's rolling. Cole Kelly looks great in a uniform. That's a big boy at quarterback, running a good offense. I think.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
He looks great in a uniform.
The Showboats' offense has been very shaky.
Yes,
Their
it's that
offensive
defense.
line is questionable.
Yes, but that's not the quarterback, Dave. That's the offensive line.
Well, he's
Cole
6'7".
Kelly. He's a winner. That's all I can say.
That's right. He's a winner.
But honestly, you go back to that last Showboats Gamblers game. Showboats should have won that game. And I think they get it done this time.
The Gamblers scored with 13 seconds left to win the game.
That's true. That's true. But that 13 seconds doesn't happen.
I'll tell you
it's
the
a
truth.
win.
I hope the Showboats win because it'd be great.
Yeah.
If the Showboats win, then you got two teams vying for that position from Memphis, which means that Memphis would get a playoff game.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So we shall wait, and we shall see. Thank you, my friend. I guess next week, your prediction is there will be portal people announcing
there will be news.
Coming to Memphis.
Yes.
There will
Yes.
be news, and we'll talk about it next Friday. What a gorgeous day. I mean, with this low humidity, how can you not head to Miramichi? All you got to do is go just a few miles north of downtown, Woodstock, and you're there. Last time I played, which was last Friday, a week ago. Man, the greens were coming in beautifully, more and more grass. It's summertime. That's what happens with Memorial Day. And the golf courses become much more lush, and that's what's happening at Miramichi. And Cheryl Pardue, their terrific GM, wanted to remind you, they got the best deal for membership going. Now, they limit it. There's only a few left. But for $300 a month, you can play as much golf. You can go practice, hit as many range balls. You don't have to pay for carts. I mean, $300 a month, that's it. To play that golf course, are you kidding? You cannot beat it. I promise. New carts, by the way, with and the great clubhouse and the great food that's there. What a deal. $300 a month. Go see Cheryl. You can thank me later. That'll do it for us. J-Mo, Brian, have a great holiday weekend. We'll reconvene right here next Tuesday. Johnny Radio's next. Homer Skelton Hyundai.